Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the next video in the data manipulation series with UiPath. In the previous video, we have seen that how we can do the string manipulation, why it is important, and how as a beginner you can get started. Continuation to the same video, today we are going to see how we can work with something which is called dictionary. We are going to do this complete video in a step by step manner. So same like the string manipulation, I would request you guys to also open up the UiPath Studio and follow along with me. You do not require any additional file input or anything. Whatever I am doing, you can just follow along with me, and at the end your confidence on working with dictionary would be good, right? So that would be our agenda. Today we are going to see the how to work with dictionaries in UiPath. In case you want to see the string manipulation video, I have already posted the link in the description. You can watch the string manipulation and that would help you in understanding this video as well. Lastly, in case you are coming to the channel for the first time and you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the latest updates. Having said that, let's get started. Let's start with something which a lot of you are already aware of, which is the dictionary, right? In robotics enterprise framework, we saw that there is something which is called a dictionary. The classic example of a dictionary is a ReFramework config file, which stores the data into a key value pair. So what exactly is a dictionary? Whenever we have to store a data into a key value pair, I call that as a dictionary. So for example, I want to create an employee dictionary. Employee ID, name. Employee ID, name, right? Sorry, it's Kelvin. Let's say employee ID and the name. So this thing, whenever I have to store the data into a form of key value pair, I call that as a dictionary. Now, the point we should remember about the dictionary is that this key and this value can be of different type, which means that the key can be a string, the value can be a string. The key can be an integer, this can be a string, this can be integer, this can be integer, right? You can create any kind of dictionary in UiPath. If you want to compare it with the UiPath RE framework, there you would have seen that the dictionary is of string and object. But let's say today you have to create your own dictionary and we have to store this data. How do I create and initialize a dictionary in UiPath, right? So first thing first, I'll go to the variables. Here I will create an dictionary whose name is employee. Okay. Then you go to the variable type. It is a key value pair. So I'll go here and I'll say browse for type. I don't see the dictionary here. Click on that. And here I would search dictionary, dictionary. Now you might see a lot of dictionary here. How as a developer I know that which one should I choose? In case you want to create a generic dictionary and you want to define your own variables, you should go with this one, which is called the generic one. You can directly type here dictionary.collections.generic. Otherwise you would directly find it even if you write .dictionary here, right? So dictionary.collection.generic, here it is, this one, system.collections.generic, my bad. So system.collections.generic, and then you have this one which is called the dictionary. In case you directly want to get it, you just put a shift and dictionary, and then you put this angular bracket, and it should directly take you to this one, right? So you write dictionary, put this angular bracket, and you would have this one. Now as I told you in the notepad, right, this can be anything, this can be anything. While defining the dictionary, you decide what data type I want to have it. I can see that these are the employee number 1, 2, 3. These are the name. So that means the key is the integer and the value is this one. So the key for me becomes integer and the value for me becomes string. If you want to compare this with ReFramework, there the key was string and this was object, right? So I selected this string integer and I said okay. And now this you have a dictionary which is of the type integer and it is of string. Okay. Now this is a collection. Thing about all the collections, all the variables is that whenever you might work with this one, and this is coming from a little bit programming experience, that it is important for us to initialize the collections. It is important for us to initialize the variables, because if you do not initialize the variables collection, what might happen if you try to use them, you might get something which is called an error, which is like object reference not set to an instance of an object, which means that you are trying to get value from something which is not initialized. So whenever you are trying to work with these complex data types, it is important for us to make sure that we provide them a value, or in other words, we initialize them, right? Now how do you initialize them? So for example, let's go one step back, right? In case I have created an integer variable, so I am telling UiPath that, hey, this is an integer variable. The user is going to provide value to this integer variable. In case you don't get any value, use 0 as the default value. Okay. I say that, hey, Mr. UiPath, I have a string variable. I have a string variable. The user will provide some value. In case you don't find any value, you have this default value. You just initialize this string variable with a blank space, right? So that it won't give you that null error. Similarly, if I have to initialize this dictionary, what is the syntax, right? So you have to use the keyword which is called new. What is new? New is a keyword in .NET C# which is used to create an object. Now a new, what do I want to create? I want to create a new dictionary, and then you see it is showing the same concept, right? Which I always tell you, right? See the syntax, read it. New dictionary of, provide the key, comma, and then provide the value. So I just go here and use this one, which is new dictionary, and then if you see in the bracket it says that of and then the key. So I say new dictionary, then I put a bracket and then I say of. Okay, what is the dictionary you want to create? I want to create the dictionary for integer, right? And then what is the second value? String, string. This is how you initialize the dictionary. Okay, this question might come into your advanced exam as well, which will show you 2, 3, 4 variances of these things, right? So remember, this is how you initialize a dictionary. Okay, now when I am working with the dictionary, how do I add data to the dictionary, right? Classic way is this one. If I go to the assign activity like this, now this is what ReFramework uses, right? I am saying that, hey, I want to add data to this dictionary. So this dictionary is completely blank now, it has nothing, right? So I'm telling UiPath that, hey, I have a dictionary which is employee. Okay. In that dictionary, I want to add a key. Then it says me key as an integer. I say the first value. Key is number 1, which is this. What do you want to provide as a value? Okay, I'll save this and I'll just try to control C, control V. I want to add a second employee. The second employee was Kelvin for me, right? So I'll go here and I'll specify Kelvin. save this, and I'll put a write line activity here. Okay, we'll see how we can get the value out of the dictionary, but as of now we'll just put a breakpoint here, debug the file. Okay, and what should happen? The robot will work. It's taking some time. Okay, so we have created a dictionary. If you try to compare this with the robotics enterprise framework, right, what happens there? The complete excel is read by UiPath and all the data is added one by one to the dictionary. So now if you go to the locals, you would see here in the employee you have two items like this, right? But if I stop this and if I take it from the beginning, right, see, this is where you guys need to understand that how does collections work. Okay, in the first activity I have put a breakpoint here. Okay, now if I go to the locals, please focus here. Employee is the name of the dictionary. It says that Mukesh, you don't have any item in the dictionary. You have a dictionary of integer and string and it is having 0 items. You can expand it. Okay, and here it will take some time to load and then it will show you that hey, you have these are the keys and these are the value, and in the raw view you can see that you have 0 elements, right? As soon as you add the first element, I'll do a step into this activity is executed. Now if I go to the employee dictionary, you can see that here it shows 1, and if I expand it here in the raw view, you would notice it says that you have a count of 1. And what is that value? You can click on this pencil icon and you can see that in your dictionary you have one item. This is the key and this is the value. If I go and use the second one, this is how you add data to the dictionary, right? So whenever you are working on the dictionary, right, this is how you create it, add the data, right? The third one would be if I want to read the data, right? Let's say I want to know what is the data, what is the employee name whose employee ID is 1, right? So same like we do in ReFramework, right? We just write employee and we provide the key as an integer. The output would be a value. So I'll just write here dot to string and I save this, right? Even if I don't write dot to string, I think it should work because the output is anyways going to be a string, right? So good practice. I'll just write dot to string, right? Save. Now if I just go here and if I run this file, what would happen? It will go and print the name Mukesh in the output, right? So this is how a dictionary works, right? Now you might be thinking, what would be the scenarios where I would use this dictionary and why do I even care about this one? The basic example for this is the UiPath Robotics Enterprise Framework, where you had a data which was in Excel and now you want to read that Excel based on some particular key. That is where you have to use the dictionary. Let's take another example. You have to create a kind of list. Okay, you have to create a kind of a list where you have, let's say, 10 departments, and for the 10 department you have the department ID and you have the department name. Like 1000 is bank, 2000 is insurance, right? You have 3000 who is something like HR, like this, right? Now I want to write an automation where I want to have all of this, and wherever I require, I want to just use this key and I should get this value. However, there is a thing here. Today there are 10 departments. Tomorrow this department can increase and it may go to 15. tomorrow the department name 1000 is bank. After some day, it might change to healthcare, something like that, right? Now, if I write and hard code this in a UiPath, every time I have to change the automation because the department keep on increasing, keep on decreasing, the names are changing, the values are changing. How do I put it, right? I will create all these values simply in an Excel, or I can put it in any data table, data source, anywhere, right? Now I will teach my UiPath robot that go and read this data, maybe from the notepad, maybe from the Excel, and add that data to the dictionary. Now, once the data is added to the dictionary, all you have to do is use it like this: employee 1.2 string, employee 2.2 string, and whatever you have mentioned here, that data you would be able to get directly into the UiPath Studio, right? So that is how you use the dictionary. Okay. In case you guys forgot, I would request you guys to go back to your UiPath RE framework project which you guys have created. Open the dictionary, open the init all applications, right? Or maybe I can show it to you, right? So if you go to the Robotics Enterprise Framework project, okay, RE framework is using this concept of dictionary, where it is reading all the data from the Excel sheet, putting it into a data table, iterating the data table, and then adding it to the dictionary. And whenever you as a developer you need this data, you just use in config object of that thing. Why that is so? Because tomorrow the values in the config keep increase, you decrease, you change. You don't have to change the code. Everything you can control by just converting and the editing that Excel, which is the config file, right? So if you see here, this was the requirement of RE framework, where you have a config file which is nothing but an Excel which look like this, right? And depending on the client customer, everybody has a different value here. This is the key, this is the value. Now, since you understand the concept of dictionary now, if you go to initialization, you would see here you have a config variable. Now you go to the variables and see here, this is a dictionary of string and object, which means that string is the key and this is the value, key and the value. But we just created the dictionary, right? How we are adding the value to it? You were adding the value, right? When I was using, I was adding it one by one. How, where is RE framework using it? If you go scroll down, you have something which is called init all settings. I told you guys that we don't need to touch it because it is already written a code. But if you open the workflow as a developer, try to understand what RE framework is doing. First thing first, initializing the dictionary. The same thing which I told you, we don't want to fall into the null reference exception. Initializing the dictionary, right, which I did here, RE framework is doing here. A new dictionary, same thing, see, let me just open new dictionary of string comma object. Initialized it, read all the data from the Excel. How do you read the data? You read it using read range activity. What do you get? You get a data table. See, you get a data table of settings and constants. Iterate them into for each loop, and now in the dictionary variable, whatever you have in the row name in the Excel, pass that as the key, and whatever you have in the value, pass that as the value, which means that this becomes the key, this becomes the value, this becomes the key, this becomes the value, and it does it for all the items which are in the Excels, both for the settings as the constant sheet. Read all this data, add it to the dictionary. Now tomorrow, if I have to change the problem, I may want to make this max retry as 5 or 4. I just change here. UiPath RE framework reads the complete data into a dictionary, creates this dictionary again,
with all the latest value and pass it to the complete automation project. Zero dependency on the variable types. Dictionary is being initialized again, all the variables are loaded again, and to access the variable we just use the same way I was using there, right? You just use the dictionary, provide the key, it will automatically give you the value. So as a developer you don't have to worry much. One example of using the collections. Okay, so let's keep it the first key as 100, the second key as 200, right? Let me try to add one more employee. I call it as employee 200 is already added with a Calvin. Employee 200 I am again trying to add with the value of Michael. A question to you guys. What do you think? Will I get an error or will the dictionary will be updated with the value of Michael? So we are creating a dictionary. Employee 100 is Mukesh, employee 200 is Calvin. Again I am telling employee 200 is Michael. What do you guys think? What would happen? Will my automation give me an error or I'll get an employee ID 200 and this Calvin would be replaced? We'll put a breakpoint and let's try to run it on the debug mode. We'll say debug the file. Okay, so in the locals we can see that dictionary has one item 1000 and Mukesh. Step into 200 is added now. 100 Mukesh, 200 Calvin. Here 100 Mukesh, 200 Michael. The existing key got updated, right? There are two things, you guys were correct, but there are two things which you should remember here. The first thing is you notice that key cannot be duplicate in the dictionary. When I added the two 200s, I only got one 200, right? First point, agree everybody? We can have only, you cannot have duplicate keys, but the values can be duplicate. This would work, right? Step into, right? Debug the file. We just saw when we had the key, duplicate key did not work, it just override. Okay. What happens if I try to make the value duplicate? Step into locals. See, Mukesh, Mukesh. Key is different. Value can be duplicate, key cannot be duplicate. If you have a duplicate key, the latest one will get the precedence. Why I was showing this? When you are working as an RPA UiPath developer and in the config, you put here max retry as 4. Put max retry as 10. This will get precedence, right? That's why no duplicates. Config is the heart of automation. Put duplicates, automation messed up. You know the reason for that? Because key cannot be duplicate, value gets overwritten. Okay. Now see here. One common error which you will always get in ReFramework is this one. Run the automation. Okay. The given key is not present in the dictionary. This is a very common error. When you are working as an RPA developer, you will get it, right? But since we are exploring dictionary, it sounds very technical, but if you think it logically, it says that the given key is not present in the dictionary. In simple English, it is trying to say that, Mukesh, you have an employee dictionary. You are trying to get a value key 1, which is not there, right? If the same error you get in ReFramework, where it says that the given key is not present in the dictionary, a lot of you would say that, hey, I have done something wrong in the automation. What should I do? Where should I fix? The answer to that question is simple. You have something in the config which you are not able to get, right? And why I'm telling you is that if I just go to internet, okay, and you would see that the given key was not present in the dictionary UiPath ReFramework. This question has been asked a lot of times in UiPath, right? So in UiPath, when you are using it, right? See, somebody is saying that I am working on a performer assignment and I am getting the below issue. What is the issue? The issue is this. The given key is not present in the dictionary. Correct? Right? Now, what was the solution? The solution was here they have the extra spaces. See? So it says that you have the extra spaces. Don't use extra spaces while naming the stuff, right? So error is simple, but if you know the basics, it's easy for you to debug the errors, right? One more important point of why understanding this collection is important, right? Okay, let me create a new dictionary and I want to show you something. Uh, Maybe config dictionary, right? I'll call it config. Now here I say that I want to create a dictionary. Again, I'll go here and I say dictionary. I'll put angular bracket. This key is now string. This is integer. Okay. Now config dictionary, right? So I'll just remove all of this. Assign. My name of the dictionary is config dictionary. The key is a string. So I can put the key as A and the value is 100. Works? B 200. Okay. Adding only two value. Let's try to run it in the debug mode. I'll put a breakpoint and I'll say debug the file, right? So I just flipped the order, right? So I created the key. First error. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. What am I missing? Can anybody tell me? What did I miss? What was the step which was not followed? Whenever you get object reference not set to an instance of an object, it simply means that you are trying to use a config dictionary which is not initialized. It can be with the data table, it can be with a string, it can be with a string, it can be with any of the variables, right? So in case you get object reference not set to an instance of an object, make sure to see that variable which you are using is initialized or not. String. And the next one is integer. Save this, debug the file, rerun the automation. Same automation, but only we initialized it, right? Now what would happen? The object would be initialized. It will add the value 100 and 200, and you can see here in the locals that I have A 100, B 200 added, right? Now answer me this. If I write here 300 and if I put here B and I put a space, right? If I put here B and then if I put here B space, what do you think? what would happen? A 100, B 200, B and a space and there 300, right? What do you think would happen? Let's try to see that. Okay, so we'll go to the locals. A 100, B 200. Step into third item is added to the dictionary. A 100, B 200 and a B space, right? We cannot have duplicate key in the dictionary, but B space is a new key. So that new key is also added to the dictionary. So whenever you have the string as the key, you need to make sure that you put the spaces, sorry, you trim the spaces before you add it to the dictionary. And if you see that in the RE framework, I leave that assignment to you. If you go back to RE framework, you would notice that when RE framework is adding the keys to the dictionary, it is using the dot trim function to make sure that the additional spaces are not added in the dictionary, because RE framework knows that if I put an additional space, my config would have a duplicate value, or my config would have a duplicate entity. So in my Excel, if I put here max retry and if I put here max retry space, it might look same, but these two are two different keys. And that is why when RE framework is using that, go here into initialize all settings, open the workflow. See, all the same function. Check if it is string, null or white space, the one which I taught you. First check whether the row of name is having some value or not. If it is having some value, trim the extra spaces. Then check if it is not null or white space, then only add it to the key, right? So this might look very obvious to you, right? But in the background, it is all the data manipulations which is coming in picture. And that's why we have to understand, right? And the point again, at least start learn basics of the VB.NET, string collections and all. This is going to help you in all these small tasks, right?
Okay, so that is all for this video. I would like to wrap this video here. I hope this was insightful. If you have any more questions, any more doubts, feel free to write me in the comments, or you can also drop me an email as well. I would appreciate your feedback on the video, and tell me in the comments what would be the next topic or next video you want to see. So with that, I would wrap this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel, and happy automation.